Welcome to Will's World, your will overall, powered by Third Gen Physical Therapy and Sports Science Institute.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whenever you're listening. Thanks for listening. We're back again. So, in this episode, we're going to cover a couple things that are kind of close to me. I care about the sport basketball a lot. So, these are one of the episodes that are for my hoopers. So, if you a hooper and you actually play ball or you watch ball, maybe this is for you. If not, it's probably your opportunity to be able to press pause and turn it off. But if not, just keep listening. So, today's episode is titled My Hoopers Coaching and Playing. In this episode, we're going to talk about three aspects. All right. We're going to cover the coaches. Are they failing or excelling to help the athletes? The players, can they be coached or are they delusional? And then part three, what's really the problem? So before we get started, everybody's listening, please like, share, subscribe in the podcast. Also hop on the in the comments. Give us any type of questions you want us to answer. Any comments would be cool. And with that being said, let's hop into the episode. So part one, right? Coaches in the state of Mississippi is what I can really talk about. I can't speak out throughout the country. I could if I wanted to, but I really want to talk about our state because I think that's something that people don't want to touch on because some reason it's untouched. Like everybody wants somebody to kiss the ring or something. But me personally, I don't have any type of dog in the fight. But I've played before, and I have people who coach, and I get a lot of conversations with coaches, and as well as I still train players. So with that being said, I feel like it's some things that coaches do that they probably don't realize they do. In Mississippi, in public schools, in order for you to coach, you have to be a teacher. And I think that takes away from your ability to coach because it's not like it was when I was growing up where most of the coaches were like teaching nothing, like PE or driver's ed. So with that, they were able to focus on coaching a little bit more. But now with the actual need for coaches, to coach as well as to teach, you have a lot of coaches that are coaching subjects that I feel like are taken away from their ability to be able to do the job. Where in the private sector, that's not always the case. You don't have to necessarily teach the coach, but that's a whole nother conversation within itself. But even with that, I can give coaches an out. The one thing I see a lot of is the fact that coaches do not coach. They don't quote unquote develop players. They think they're developing players because they have practice, but I've seen enough practices throughout this state that I can count a handful of coaches in the state that actually have a program. And what I mean by that, from the junior high level to the ninth grade, as well as to the varsity level, they have a pretty much you know a synchronized way of how they like to build their players, as well as they run kind of the similar systems. So when they get to a certain level, they've already pretty much been familiar with the actual coaching, the plays, and they're not too much behind on that part of it. Maybe they're physically not there, but in a sense of understanding how to play and what the coach expects, they're already there. Also, with that, I think that some coaches do excel at helping the athletes. And what I mean by that, you do have coaches that do care, the ones that are really involved with the athletes on and off the court. I think that's a miss now. I don't think a lot of coaches actually ask players how they're doing, and I think that's some pressure with winning. Also, they're not really concerned with that, and some of them are, but for the most part, I think that a lot of kids this day and age they're not hearing you unless they know how much you care. So with that, you kind of have to balance that too because it's impossible to be able to keep up with 15 athletes, or if you got a football team, it could be between 50 to 60 or 70 athletes. But with that, the coaches need to be better because, for instance, in the big house this year, there was a game, Biloxi versus Starkville High girls. The score was 14-14 at halftime. And that's because somebody decided to hold the ball for the whole first half. And then the same team that held the ball the majority of the game ended up scoring 2 points in the second half in its entirety. And the game 16 to 23 or 24, like with Starkville winning. That's not basketball. That's being lazy as a coach. As a coach, when you're in the big house, these are the best of the best teams. If you have to hold a ball to win a game, then we already have failed the kids. There's not one particular level that you can do that. And it's in a place where it's not the 80s anymore, the 90s anymore. The game is up and down. There's a shot clock. I think like 27 states already have shot clocks. So a lot of time our kids start behind because we're holding the ball versus devising a plan to defeat the opposing team. Like for instance, when you're playing pickup ball, right? At its core, you're going to a score. So you can't hold the ball. You actually have to score the ball or figure out how to be able to take advantage of the other team. So there's no such thing as really holding the ball except in high school in some states. And I feel like that's a disservice to the kids' development, it's also to the coaches developing themselves. Now let's move to part two, the players, right? There is a quote unquote double-edged sword here. Some players are delusional. And then, some players, are capable of being coached. And then with that, you have some players who are good kids and they kind of get lost in the shuffle because they don't really, kick back. And some players are a little bit more, how can I say, feisty about stuff and they tend to fight back a little more. So, coaches don't really play with them in the sense of, not developing them or paying them any attention. And I think that a lot of times a lot of players don't work hard either. Like we're at a point in the game where in America, we literally play more basketball than we practice basketball, and that's why your past, what, 5 MVPs have been foreign born. Like, it's because they practice more than they play. And it's fact. Like you can go look it up. Like we all think this rolling the ball out and playing pickup is how you get better. That's not right. Like that's not true. Like you can play and you can get somewhat better playing pickup because you figure out how to be able to play on the fly and stuff like that. But sometimes you need some development. Like it's a lot of players who are in their 30s who can't go left. Like, and they don't have an elite athleticism to overcome that to be able to just run past somebody, jump over somebody going right the whole time. And some players can't shoot, and some players can. Like, some players can't pose, and some players can't dribble. Like, and you're playing basketball in the day and time where every player from overseas can do all of that and some. The biggest adjustment they have to make is the athleticism they face. But for the most part, like they're better coached, which is why Luka Doncic is one of the players that will say that it's easier to score over here, and he can't even jump over a cheeseburger probably if you put it on the ground because it doesn't require athleticism. He's actually thinking the game. He knows if he dribbles the ball for 3 seconds, the help has to get out the lane. So as a result, he doesn't even have to even really think. He can just go attack his actual matchup, was a mismatch or not. Where players over here don't necessarily develop their game. They have massive holes in their game, which is why you can get a lot of young players and play half court against older players, and they're probably going to lose more than they're going to win, and it shouldn't be the case. But with that, I can't blame the players entirely because they only know what they don't know. So if I have a kid that's supposed to be a good player, but we have told him all his life he's a good player, but we never been honest with him about his development. Then he gets to college and now he has to try to develop his game. It's hard to do so when you're in this era of NIL. They're not trying to develop you, like unless they have money invested in you. So if you get there and you're not good enough, and then you can't develop, or you don't want to develop, or you don't put the work in, they're gonna just get you out of there. Like, and not to mention, for the most part, high school scholarship offers that went completely down for D1 level or D2, D3 level, period, in all sports, not just basketball. I mean, that's because of the fact that they're not going to continue to invest in the kids that need development when they're pressured with trying to win games. So now the question is, can the players be coached? I think some players can be coached, and or are they delusional? Most likely, also. I think it's a double-edged sword there. But at the same time, when we think about it in a microcosm in this state, we don't have a shot clock. We changed the total fouls from 7 to 5 to increase the scoring, which makes no sense. Like I report people for being fouled to the number 5. And as a result, that's where the shoot free throws to get more points. We have players who can't even shoot free throws. So we fixed the problem by making it less fouls to get points. So be able to get to the free throw line. That's backwards. How about teach them how to be better players and be able to draw fouls and make free throws? Like I bet you look at the free throw percentage for most teams in the state. I bet you it's less than 60% for the majority. Now the last piece of this is what's really the problem? Meaning theory, right? So I don't think I assign blame to one side or the other. I think I pretty much outlined two pieces of the puzzle, with just some more blame to go around. But I think it's a past mindset, and I really feel like it's in a situation where we also lack evolution in basketball when it comes to playing in this state. Like I talked about the rule change, we should implement a shot clock of some kind. Right, there should be a shot clock in the playoffs. I think it don't have to be all season, but it should be in the playoffs. These are the best teams in the state. Why would we need to keep them playing by the same rules? Most states do that, but not also when you watch games. I bet you can watch a high school game and watch 4 teams that day, and I bet you 2 of those teams run the same exact offense almost. And I guarantee you they do because they just copy because they don't have the time to be able to, develop thoughts and mindsets and be able to develop ways to beat teams. And they'll blame the players being young. But if you sit and watch games in high school, you find teams that do not have game plans, and you find a very few amount of teams that do. So some of that is just the lack of evolution in the game within the state. and they're gonna blame the fact that kids don't play outside anymore, and everybody has a trainer or whatever. That's garbage too, because there's a lot of players who coach at college level who have no idea how to teach fundamentals. So it's not even just that. I think it's double, edge in the sense of we have to pay attention to both things. And at the end of the day, regardless, we all are responsible for everyone's growth. But there's a miss here too. Money is the main motivator. There's a lot of people, a lot of players involved, as well as parents involved, that are limiting a lot of these children from having, open conversation about the development, because they're trying to get them to college, get them to the NIL, and as a result, cash in. Like, so it's not even really a easier way to, how can I say this, develop the kid, because there's just so much of get an offer, get an offer, get an offer. When truth be told, most of these kids are not going to get an offer out of high school when it comes to D1 sports, for basketball at least, because there's just less spots, like 15 slots per team. So, I mean, if you're not in a situation where you're really developing your game, and you're in a situation where a coach is really trying to help you get forward, and you're not being honest with your child as well as putting time in with them, it's very hard for them to get there. And then a lot of things are not fair too, which the world of politics when it comes to sport. Like, you can have a player that's a great basketball player that's shorter, and a player that's a terrible basketball player that's taller, and somebody believes they can teach the taller player skill. But then we don't even practice enough to be able to put the time in to teach the taller player the skill. So in essence, whatever, we won't even take the better basketball player. We'll take the potential. And that happens in multiple sports too. And so with that, it's the pressure of winning too. So like I said, like past mindsets, lack of evolution, like everybody's just doing what the next person is doing because it's supposed to be the right thing to do to get them going forward, which I can't be quote unquote mad at because that's the monster that was created. The biggest thing though is that, we all need to try to collectively help. Take your time, and try your best to, not just allow, your player to be, just a basic player. Go to the field with them, go to the gym with them, put the time in and show them how to live, talk about their game, not just how great they are, because truth be told, there are always better players out here. And as a coach, man, like, challenge yourself to develop a game plan. Like, everybody runs a 2-3 zone, want to get the ball to the middle, and we wonder why we can't get the score over 30, 40 points. Like, we just run the same thing. Right, and we put people in the middle who can't play make. So we got somebody coming to the middle that can't even pass the ball with a flip. So, like, I would challenge us all, man, just to try to be an addition to the game. I put my time in helping players. Anybody know me? No, I put my time in helping players of all different sports if I can, and share my knowledge. And I don't really have a criticism for the coaches when it comes to that. I just try to help the player to fill in the blanks of their game. So they have a question, I make them responsible for their development. I put it down on the ground, or I say what I got to say, and it's up to them to do it. If they don't, cool. I've had my time in the sun, so I don't have to sit here and live through them. I'm just trying to help, and I don't want them to benefit me. I want them to benefit themselves. So if they become pros or they become great people or whatever, that's their win. It's not really my win. At the end of the day, we supposed to be helping each other win, and I think that the game has gone away from that. I think it's a situation of who's right, who's wrong, and not just being honest and saying that we all have some responsibility for the game being where it's at. Hope today's episode, man, somebody got something from it. If you did, cool. If you did, I understand too. But going forward, I would say this: if you're a player and you're trying to get better, be honest with yourself. If you're a coach and you're trying to get better, be honest with yourself. Like, we all are not perfect. Even I'm not perfect. I make mistakes all the time. Even in this podcast, I'm pretty sure I made a few mistakes. But with that, like, I can be honest and say that, I'm trying to put my best foot forward. And I hope that, I challenge everybody to do that too in this episode. So for everybody who's still here, man, thank you. Like, share, subscribe again. And if you have anything that we can talk about or something you want us to answer or something you want us to, do, please let us know. And with that one, I hope you have a blessed one. I'll catch you in the next one.